You tell yourself, it's just standards, just discipline, just trying to be better. But then, why does it feel so heavy? Why does something that's supposed to make you stronger quietly drain you instead? You look at what you've done, and instead of feeling proud, your mind goes straight to what's missing, what you didn't do, what you could have done better. And here's the part you don't say out loud. Why does doing your best never feel like enough? You notice it in small moments. You finish something important, and before anyone else even reacts, your brain is already picking it apart. That could have been cleaner. You took too long. You should have known that already. And maybe people around you don't even see it. They think you're confident, capable, put together. But inside, there's this constant pressure, like you're being watched, judged, evaluated, not by others, by yourself. And the strange part, you don't even know when it started. You just know it never really stops. So, what is this? High standards, or something else hiding underneath? At first, it feels like a strength. You push yourself harder than most people. You don't settle. You notice details others miss. You care about doing things right. And yeah, that gets results. But here's the part most people miss. What if the same thing that pushes you forward is also quietly pulling you apart? Because you're not just trying to improve, you're trying to avoid something. But what exactly, and why does it feel like even success doesn't fully silence it? The first sign is subtle. You don't really celebrate, not fully. You reach a goal, and instead of sitting with it, your mind moves the finish line. Okay, but what's next? There's still more to fix. There's still more to prove. And it sounds productive on the surface, like ambition. But if you slow down for a second, why does achievement feel more like relief than joy? Like you escaped failure instead of actually winning. And if that's true, then what were you really chasing this whole time? The second sign shows up in how you see mistakes, not as normal, not as part of growth, but as something personal. You don't just think, I made a mistake, you think, what's wrong with me? And this is where it gets uncomfortable, because now it's not about improving your work. It's about protecting your identity. You hesitate, overthink, replay things in your head longer than you need to, not because the mistake was big, but because of what it might say about you. But who decided that every small error means something bigger? And why does your brain treat it like proof? The third sign is harder to notice. You struggle to rest, even when you're tired, even when you've done enough, because rest feels undeserved, like you haven't earned it yet. So you sit there, trying to relax, but your mind keeps pulling you back. There's still something you should be doing. You're falling behind. Other people are doing more. And here's the contradiction. You want peace, but the moment things slow down, you feel uneasy, so you go back to pressure, back to movement, back to proving. But what are you trying to outrun? The fourth sign is quiet, but powerful. You compare. Even when you don't want to, not in an obvious way. Not loudly, but internally. And instead of just appreciating it, you measure yourself against it. Why am I not there yet? Why does it look easier for them? And even if you don't say it, you feel it. That slight drop in your chest, that small sense of being behind. And this is where it gets tricky. Because your expectations don't come from nowhere. They're shaped by what you see, what you absorb, what you think you should be. But what if the version you're comparing yourself to was never meant to be yours? Let's pause for a second. Because this is where everything shifts. What if this isn't just about high expectations? What if it's about something deeper? What if, somewhere along the way, you learned that being enough wasn't automatic? It had to be earned. Through performance, through improvement, through never slipping. And if that's true, then of course you expect more from yourself. Not because you're greedy for success, but because part of you still feels like you need to prove something. But prove what? And to who? The fifth sign lives in your thoughts. You rarely talk to yourself the way you talk to others. You're patient with people, understanding, supportive. But when it comes to you, the tone changes. It gets sharper, colder, less forgiving. And maybe you've gotten used to it. Maybe you even think it helps, keeps you disciplined, keeps you from getting lazy. But here's the question. If someone spoke to you the way you speak to yourself, would you feel motivated or just tired? And if it's the second one, then why do you expect yourself to thrive under it? The sixth sign is the hardest to admit. You don't fully trust your own progress, even when you're growing. Even when things are improving, there's always this feeling that it's not stable yet, that it could fall apart, that you could fall back. So instead of feeling secure, you stay alert, hyper, aware, watching for cracks. And this creates a strange loop. You improve, but you don't feel it. You grow, but you don't own it. Because your expectations keep moving faster than your reality. And now the question becomes, how do you ever catch up to something that keeps changing? And maybe this is the part that's been quietly sitting in the background the whole time. It was never just about doing more. It was about feeling like you are more, without needing constant proof. But that's hard. Because you've trained yourself to measure worth through output, through results, through being better. So when you try to stop, it feels like losing something, like you're letting yourself slip. But are you, or are you just stepping out of something that was never meant to be this heavy? So what does this actually mean for you? Does it mean you lower your standards? Stop caring? Become average? No, that's not it. But maybe it means you start questioning the pressure behind those standards. Where it came from, why it feels so intense, why it never feels satisfied. And maybe, just maybe, you don't need to expect less from yourself. You just need to stop expecting everything all the time, because there's a difference between wanting to grow and needing to prove you're worthy. And if you really think about it, which one has been driving you? So the next time you catch yourself pushing again, chasing again, tightening that pressure just a little more, pause and ask yourself something simple. If you weren't trying to prove anything, would you still be this hard on yourself? Or would something inside you finally relax? And maybe that answer is where things actually begin to change.